Welcome to the Conquer Risk podcast. I'm your host, Christopher Norton. I am excited to once again return to the series where, with one notable exception, I ask deeply personal questions of people I've never spoken to before. Today's guest is the CEO of, in my opinion, one of the most exciting companies in fintech. He is a prolific speaker and an all-around phenomenal human. Jason Wenk, welcome to the show.
Hey man, I'm never been called an all around whatever good human, but I appreciate that. Stoked to be here.
I've seen you speak and been following you on Twitter long enough to be very confident in my statement.
Fair enough.
To start us off, how are you? What's your current state of mind? Where are you at?
Ooh, yeah, no, life is good, man. I'm like a few days, I'm 1 week exactly from my oldest son's 22nd birthday. And I
That's
am
awesome.
11 days before my youngest son's first birthday. So it's a busy time of year. You know, we get to celebrate 22 and 1 in the Wenk household.
That is a spectrum.
Yeah, man, it's life is way better than I deserve. So no complaints.
That is very cool. Well, the first question that I have then for you, I think fits well into that space, because I would love to know what your idea of perfect happiness is.
Wow, it's good. That's deep, right out of the gates. But
no softballs.
Yeah, man. Well, I think contentedness is kind of like a good way to think about happiness. Which is hard, I think, for any entrepreneur to kind of totally have, because you kind of feel like you always want to do more. But I think when you reach a point where you feel really content with the life you've lived, the people you've loved, and kind of the impact you've made, I think that's awfully close to happiness.
That is well said. On the other end of the spectrum, then, what is your greatest fear?
My greatest fear would be when every time I see the updated monthly fintech solutions map, it gives me like horror. Like I get shaky. And
gosh, I hate that thing so much.
Like, yeah, I get like irritable, and I don't sleep for 3 days. Yeah.
That's fair. That's fair. Well, since you mentioned the questions were deep, that's sort of the goal of the whole podcast. So, thinking introspectively, what is the trait that you most deplore in yourself?
Well, I don't know if I call this a trait, but when I get nervous, if it could be like the most serious conversation in the world, right? But if I get really nervous, I can't help but kind of smile and laugh. And it's got to be like the most offensively horrible feeling for the person on the other side. Like, it's like I could be like, Christopher, listen, today's meeting is going to be a tough meeting because I'm gonna have to let you go today. And it's been a really good run right now. But like, for real, I don't know what it is this weird nervous reaction that when things are absolutely awful, I just can't help but kind of like smile. It's my nervous reaction. So anyway, I don't like that. I can't really change it.
It's a good defense mechanism for yourself, but maybe not for the people on the other side.
There's nothing good about it. Yeah.
Yeah. I experienced that one time, I think, but and it was in your example situation, but I was so excited to let this person go that I couldn't contain my my emotions. It was years ago, and he wasn't with us long, but it was not my best HR moment.
Good thing that's not what we both do for a living. That'd be
right.
Bad fit.
Yeah. Bad fit. So, same question, but what trait do you most deplore in other people?
I think arrogance, I suppose, is pretty deplorable. Whether it's deserve it or not. Some people are, they're like, they truly are amazing, but then when they're arrogant and amazing, that's not fun. And but maybe even worse than that is when someone's just actually not impressive in any way, shape, or form, but they're the most arrogant person you've ever met. That's even worse.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. Okay, maybe a softball question, although some people struggle to answer it. What is your greatest extravagance, personally?
Well, I mean, I think some people may know this about me, but I own 2 golf courses, and that might be kind of unusual. It sounds way more impressive, by the way, than it is. Like, I bought these courses in West Michigan where land is like $1,000 an acre. So like no exaggeration is more expensive to buy a trailer, like a mobile home trailer, in California than to buy a golf course in Michigan. So, but I do have 2 golf courses, which is kind of a strange extravagance.
That's pretty rad. That's pretty rad.
You're a branding marketing guru. Got to go check them out, right? Benona Shores Golf Course and Oceana Golf Club. So you plug in them real quick, go check them out.
I'm gonna do some research. We have a team member in Michigan, actually, so
I know
I'll
him.
have to
Yeah.
pass that along. Yeah. Well, slightly different kind of a question. What do you consider, and you can answer this personally or professionally or both, but what do you consider to be your greatest achievement to date?
Yeah, I mean, I think from a personal perspective, like there's nothing that makes you more proud than to see your kids do amazing things. So and I think as a parent, even if it's not amazing to anyone else, it's like our almost 1-year-old is able to stumble down 2 or 3 steps, and it's like, this kid's gonna be the next like Jim Brown. He's amazing. What an athlete, right? But so yeah, it's not hard to be like extraordinarily proud of your kids. And I think professionally, one of my greatest joys is actually creating opportunity for other people. So like creating jobs. So it's really cool to we have 360 roughly employees at Altruist. It's like such a cool thing to have so many people that are aligned towards a mission and like building, I think, a tremendous amount of professional kind of accolades along the way. It's pretty rewarding.
That's very cool. In our own world, we've grown from 5 to, I think we'll be 20 by the end of the year, which is pretty big distance from over 300, but it's still quadrupling in size, and to see the people come on board, and it's rewarding.
Well, we were about 20 before the pandemic started, and went from 20 to, it's called 25 to 360 in 2.5 years. So maybe that's what your next 2.5 years you have to look forward to.
Oh man, I think we better hire that missing HR component.
Yeah. HR probably a good idea to get somewhere between 20 and 50. You want to get legit HR team and legit finance team. It's a necessity.
Yeah. Right now, it's conversations that Manish and I have on Zoom. That's HR. So, a fun question to ask people like yourself: what talent do you most wish you had?
Well, I'm a very amateur musician, and so you can't help but anyone who plays a little bit of music just wishes they were amazing at it, And so I'd say if I could have one skill I don't already have, it'd be to have like world class, talents in music.
My next question is probably my favorite to ask, which probably says more about me than anything. But on what occasion do you lie?
Well, it's funny you say that, of course I lie. I think everybody does, even if you try to be, but I have this tattoo. People have something to ask me what's on my, on how I can get it on camera. Right here. Anyway. And it says, be courageous. The short version of the story was that, I used to be told, it's a very cliche, like millennial thing, even though I'm too old to be one, but, my therapist used to tell me that it takes a lot of courage to always do the right thing and to be truthful and to be transparent, et cetera. So I got that as a reminder to always be truthful. Rarely can I think of a time where it's not good to be truthful. But again, we all I'm sure have our little white lies. If I was to say where it happens probably the most, it's like with kids, right? Like, of course Santa's real. Yeah. Of course the Easter Bunny's real. Like, and many others, right? They just start with those there, and I'm sure they accelerate as the kids get older.
My 9-year-old son still thinks that the Force is real. He just hasn't quite learned to master it yet. I'm not really sure when I'm going to have to let that one go, but for now, yeah.
They stick with it, that it's, you never know. You never know.
I have managed to do a few like sleight of hand things that he can't explain that has continued to further the lie. So we'll see how long I can keep it up.
Oh. So I told my wife once that, I vividly remember being able to fly as a child, and I'm convinced it was real, but I lost that ability at some point. I probably
That's a
couldn't really
shame.
fly, but I really, it was so real. It still feels real as like a 40-year-old man, but like, she said, you probably shouldn't tell people that. So here I am telling it for like the whole world to see, like on a conference.
Well, in mentioning your spouse, hopefully it doesn't make this next question awkward. But who or what is the greatest love of your life?
Well, I mean, definitely the who would be my wife, and I say like the what is more broadly a group of people, just family in general. I'm actually pretty reclusive, don't like to get out in public a whole lot, and prefer to kind of stay close to home. I've always been a homebody, but very much love my tribe, my very close family. So yeah.
That's awesome. When and where are you happiest?
Hmm. When that's a great question. I would say this isn't probably like a location, but I'd say like after a nice tall glass of red wine, for some reason I'm always happier. I don't know why, but
Same. Yep.
and as far as where, I'm from the Midwest. I live in California and been all over the world, but I'd say those two places are very intentional. Like that's home to me. Is they're diametrically very different, and but if it put me in the middle of nowhere, like with no people around in rural Michigan, like I'm at like a what feels like a peak happiness, and then when I'm in Southern California with like the most beautiful weather and beaches and topography, I'm not unhappy here either.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because my next question was going to be, other than where you are, where would you most like to live?
Hmm.
And I
Yeah.
have a similar story because um, I'm from the Midwest, from Omaha, Nebraska. My dad worked for an airline, and then the first decade of my career was basically travel. So I've had the opportunity to go everywhere. Now I live in the Bay Area, and I don't often miss Midwest weather. But right now, when
Yeah.
we're heading into autumn and it's still 90 here, and I'm seeing, people having a glass of whiskey around a fireplace while the leaves fall, and I'm like, oh man, like I could do it for like the next 6 weeks, and then I'm out. But yeah,
Yeah. I'm with you. So yeah, I have a cottage back in Michigan, and so we're actually going there this fall to watch the colors. Trees
oh
change
cool,
color, have whatever. Yeah, whiskey, cocoa, campfires, the whole nine. So and
that's
yeah,
awesome.
look, there's a lot of beautiful places in the world. I think if I wasn't in Southern California, I'd probably be in Northern California, ironically. So love kind of Central Coast, that kind of
Yeah,
Monterey and Carmel and Big Sur. Like it's about as beautiful as any place I've ever been in the world, and it's
it
still close
is.
to home. So yeah, that might be where I'd live
Yeah,
if I wasn't here.
very cool. What is your most treasured possession?
Hmm. So I don't have a ton of stuff. I think anyone who's a bit maybe a bit obsessive compulsive. I don't want to proclaim that I'm totally there because that's offensive to those who really are. But I more things give me more anxiety, so I prefer to have the least amount of stuff possible. But if there was like a possession or thing, my cottage in Michigan is like one of those places that I hope to leave in my family for like as many generations as humanly possible. So
That's awesome.
very few other things I care deeply about, but that's a very special place to me.
That is very, very cool. I uh I wish I had that place. Um there's a there's an opportunity to reclaim something that was once in my family that I hope to accomplish one day. But my family used to have a farm in Illinois for
Mm.
many generations, and the people that own the property now have every intention of keeping it. But there was a barn on the property that belonged to my great grandparents, and they needed to get rid of it, but they recognized its historical value. So they took it down piece by piece, labeled every single one of them, and
Wow.
put it in dry storage. And they reached out to my family and said, anybody that wants it, if you want it, it's yours. So I don't really have a place to build it here in the Bay Area, but Perhaps one day that will come about.
Yeah, you should buy yourself a farm. I think that's like the Robert Sophia thing, right? Just kind of go down that road.
Just follow Robert right down that path. I wouldn't mind actually doing just that. My son has a dream of he wants for a 9-year-old. This is quite a leap, but he wants to have a farm in Northern Europe and raise Highland cows. So we'll see what becomes of that someday.
Well, it doesn't sound like a terrible life to me. So
No, I could get on
that's a good
board pretty
dream for a
quick.
9-year-old, as far as I'm concerned.
What do you value most in your friends? You talked about that core group that you have.
I think probably just it's funny. The opposite of what bothers me, is when people are kind of arrogant. But I think people who are very very humble, like and very truthful. I think those are people you can obviously trust, and they're a pleasure to be around. So humbleness and truthfulness. I mean, I think you have those things. It's not hard to love those people.
Well said. Is there a historical figure that you identify with?
Well, I don't know if people would call him a historical figure yet, but I greatly and deeply admire Jack Bogle, the late founder of Vanguard, and so while not necessarily trying to be all the things he was, I think there's a lot of things that I certainly admire. And so a little bit of identification, I guess, there, and similar in terms of like the, essentially for him to have built Vanguard to be successful, it had to basically really piss a lot of people off. It was impossible to not make a lot of enemies when it's like, wait a minute, but we love 8.5% commissions on mutual funds, and like, wait a minute, 3%, expense ratios are totally cool. Like, why are we changing all these things? And so I think that he probably made a lot of enemies along the way, but did it in the name of like, how do we help more people achieve more, with what resources they have, and I think that's pretty admirable.
I would concur. I think, as a testament to you, from what we've seen of Altruist, that's exactly what you're doing, and we're. Well, I can't speak for everybody, but I'm at least a big fan of the organization.
Well, likewise, and stoked that we're partnering, right? It's fun to be able to work together.
Yeah, that was I was very excited when I saw that opportunity come to fruition. So the last question that I have for you is intentionally last and intentionally the most difficult. But when it's all said and done, how would you like to die?
Oh,
I know.
Well, this might sound really strange and super naive, but I'm like one of these weird people. Like, I don't ever want to, so I'm going to try like hell to live as long as I can and be as healthy as I can, and defy a whole bunch of odds. And when my body completely fails me, I'm hoping that I can, program AI to essentially maintain whatever is left of my mushy brain at that point in some type of like humanoid, for all of eternity. So, I just feel like I'm not yet comfortable with this idea of mortality.
No, I deeply respect that. My grandfather made it to 91. And he basically stopped taking care of his health at 70. So I figure if I make just a little bit of effort, I can really push the boundaries on that one. So
I was kind of joking. I had my first son when I was only 20 years old, or 19 even. And so I was kind of joking, like, hey, by the time I'm like in a nursing home, like we'll be in there together, right? So like when I'm 100, he'll be 80, we'll just be in there, like, and then his little brother, my youngest, will be hopefully like, he'll be like 60, so like, I've got to live till I'm like 125, 140 so that all of us can be in the nursing home together, is kind of the basic gist of this.
That is a magnificent goal.
Got 100 more years to go. I don't know. Fingers crossed.
I love it. And the perfect place to put a period at the end of this conversation. So thank you so very much for being generous with your time and your story and joining us. And hopefully we'll talk to you again soon.
Yeah, man. Super fun. Great job.
Well, take care. Thanks.